Hey everyone. So my topic for today is not well set updates, as you saw. My topic for today is identified community stakers framework, and now we're going to figure out what it is and why we even need that. So I guess all of you heard about CSM v2 and its features, but to explain the necessity of the framework we'll see in a minute, we need to step back and remember one of the main features of CSM v2, which is entry gates. So I'll use this picture because it's just adorable and it explains pretty well of what the entry gates are. So in CSM v1, all the node operators were entering the module and still is entering the module because we're still at CSM v1. They're entering the module through the same gate, getting exactly the same conditions for all the node operators. And as with any permissionless protocol, it led to some capacity of CSM being occupied by big players, by big node operators, while, as we all remember, the primary goal for CSM is to bring as many independent stakers as possible. And in CSM v2, the second beautiful picture, in CSM v2, this issue will be addressed with the mechanism of entry gates, which will allow for splitting all the node operators to first permissionless operators and second identified independent or community stakers, as you can see over here. So the technical solution for these entry gates is already developed and is now under audits. But now the question is how we actually identify those independent operators. On this picture, it's pretty obvious, while in real life, it's not that easy. And this is basically the answer to the question why we even need this framework. So this framework aims to introduce a possible assessment system that increases the number of independent stakers by providing them a way to identify themselves. It is a beautiful slide, beautiful minimalistic slide, but this is the gist. So now let's try to understand how we approached the design space for this framework. So before starting thinking of the exact tools that we can use, we tried to think of what should be the requirements of this framework. And here they are. So the framework in my opinion, should be resistant to sibling and abuse. For sure, it's the main purpose of this framework. It should be transparent to the community so that community members can see and understand how this or that applicant got to the identified community stakers list. People who wish to be included in the list should indicate their interest. And here, if we compare this approach with the early adoption mechanics that we had in CSM version 1, when we just assign this early adoption role to all the addresses that we've identified as as belonged to independent stakers, for ICS, identified community stakers, it will not be the case. So people will need to express their desire to be included in this list by applying to this system. Then the framework should be easy to understand, that's pretty obvious. Then framework should allow for inclusion of people who want to remain anonymous. And this is one of the most important things about this framework because it is a big concern among community members that this will mean that CSM got KYC'd. So this requirement, this principle says that there should be at least one viable path to people to get into this list without sharing any single piece of their personal information. So this is one of the principles of the framework. Then the framework should support the inclusion of people who are just getting started with Ethereum validation because, again, as I mentioned before, one of the main purposes of CSM is to bring independent operators, and this might mean that people are just getting started, and these can be a net new operators to Ethereum overall, not only to CSM. So that is why the framework should be open to those people too. Then the framework should respect people's past achievements in broad Ethereum ecosystem. Lido is not the only protocol existing, and it's not the only good product. And people who previously contributed to other projects for Ethereum ecosystem should be recognized for their contribution. And at the end of the day, the framework is developed, first of all, for Lido purposes. That is why the framework should incentivize engagement in the Lido ecosystem. All right, so next up, we are going to the gist of the framework and how it actually can work. So the proposed framework is based on the scoring system, where the score that user can get somewhere here acts as an entry ticket or entry gate to the identified community stakers list, which we have ICS here. So the points inside the score system can be earned by providing address, which contains proof of these 3 different categories that I cannot show you for some reason. Yes, I can. So the scoring system consists of 3 main categories that can help user to get the score within the scoring system. And now let's talk about each of those. So here we have proof of experience, proof of engagement, and proof of humanity. So the system should provide applicants with various ways to prove, again, their experience, their engagement, and their humanity. And this way, if we take a look on proof of experience and what is proposed to be included here, applicants should provide their addresses which are either included in those solo stakers list or have the Obel Technique credential or got verified by SSV as independent operators or participated in CSM testnet or mainnet. All of those sources will have their own amount of score points that users can get if they have this kind of proof. All right, next up we have proof of engagement, and in this category users need to provide that they somehow engaged and overall interested in this entire topic of Ethereum and solo staking. And here we have a division into Lido engagement with Lido ecosystem, where the proof of this engagement can be their participation in Lido votings, their Galaxy score, where we issue this POPs or odds, or their meaningful engagement in the conversation that are happening on Discord, research forum, or Twitter. While the broader Ethereum contribution can be recognized by this Git POAPs, which means that the person who has this Git POAP has contributed to the repository of the projects that will be listed as project that will be recognized for this type of proof. And the last one is the proof of humanity, and probably this is the most scary one, I guess. So here the intent is not to reinvent the wheel, but rather collaborate with a third-party provider that have their own framework to prove humanity. This platform or this third-party provider should be somewhat recognized in the Ethereum community, should have obviously a built-in sibling protection, and should issue the proofs that are assigned to Ethereum addresses. And for now, I cannot say for sure, but for now, there is a project that was previously called Gitcoin Passport, now is called Human Passport, that we are currently considering to include as one of the sources for this humanity thing. And as well providing information that can be later on used to contact node operators can bring some scores in this proof of humanity category. All right, now let's try to sum it up. and there is a picture that probably will help you to understand better of what I just showed you. So the gist is that in this system, each applicant should obtain a sufficient score from each category, as well as the sufficient overall score that you can see over here. So each applicant should get a certain amount of points here, here, and here, and the overall score should be sufficient. And that will be the reason for this applicant to be included into this identified community stakers list. What do I have next? Oh, okay, so next I have the flow, just to quickly show you of how it all can work in real life. So how CSM node operators, or basically anybody in the space, can get this identified community stakers type. So the first step is application. People will need to connect to the CSM widget, which is our main interface for CSM, connect the wallet, then fill in the required data. And by data, we mean that there can be several Ethereum addresses that contain proofs from different types that I mentioned before. Then the contact info, which is also totally optional. Then prove the ownership of both of addresses provided and of contact info provided, and then submit the application. So that is it in terms of the application. After that, we have the validation step, where basically we check that all the data provided is valid, it has not been used in any previous application, and the required score has been achieved. And then, if everything is okay, the application is recorded and marked as approved, and the address provided as the main address in this application will be proposed for inclusion into the next identified community stakers list update, which is happening through the governance process. So basically, it will happen in the update of the list will happen in waves. It will be proposed to CSM committee for review, and then CSM committee will be able to start an easy track motion to bring those new addresses to the list on chain. And after that, the small step that will be required from CSM node operators is to go to the UI, to the CSM widget again, and just claim their new node operator type. Beautiful, amazing, quite simple, in my opinion at least. And the main question now is, why would node operators even bother? So the gist is that if this entry gates concept provides an interesting thing, that different types of node operators can have different parameters of their participation in CSM. And I am not sure, I'm not sure if you can see all the numbers on this screen, but maybe it's even better. It will encourage you to go and check it out on the research forum using the QR code that I use here. But this is a sneak peek for the future interface of CSM widget, where we will have a new tab, operator type, and here you can see that if you before was just a permissionless operator and you applied for the identified community stakers node operator type, you'll be able to change parameters such as node operator reward, such as bond, such as your opportunity to join, to upload your list through the priority queue, and so on. So basically, this is the main reason why node operators would want to go through to read this framework, to understand it, to get the required amount of points, just because it will make their life better when it comes to CSM. Yes, and the last one is basically next step. So all that I've described just right now is just a proposal that we recently published on the Lido research forum. And as you saw, we do not have the exact numbers of, for example, how many score points the inclusion in the is-stakers, solo-stakers list will get, will bring you, or what is the minimum requirement for proof of engagement category. So these numbers are not defined yet. They will be soon. They will be soon proposed on the research forum. And basically, the next step is to define these actual values, to make some adjustments to the framework if needed based on the feedback received, then to run a snapshot vote to approve the system by the LDO holders, and then some stuff that we will need for the governance process, and basically prepare the interface to start getting submissions. And here the QR code for the proposal that we published on the research forum itself. I think that this is it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
Sorry,
was expecting
Oh my
Sasha to provide a small segue to my section, but never mind. I just want to capture 2 minutes of your time, guys, at the very end. And those of you who are still with us till the end of the call, you are amazing, first of all. And second, I want to talk about scaling CSM. So as you all know, or probably never heard of it, well, let me remind you. In the original proposal about further scaling CSM, which is a very hot question, CSM has been sitting at 2% fully allocated for almost 3 months now. In this proposal, 2 conditions were mentioned to increase CSM share from 2% further on. The first one was simple DBT should have all the depositable validators deposited. And the second one was that curated node operator peer 2 should get at least a minimal viable amount of active validators for the professional node operator, which is 1,000. So 2 things had happened since the proposal was published. First of all, as you can see, we have no depositable keys in simple DBT. So simple DBT is fully allocated to the current available capacity, which means that the first condition is met. And the second one, which happened just minutes before the call, peer 2, curated node operator peer 2 have their 1,000 keys activated. And that means that now CSM can move from 2% to 3%. And it will happen right after the scheduled dual governance vote in this month, which is heavily prepared now and which would arguably be the largest release Lido had ever seen. So in July 2025, next month, right in a month from now, CSM share increase from 2% to 3% will be proposed by the DAO, and we would most likely see a lot of new deposits flowing into CSM as soon as the middle of this summer. And that was it for me to wrap up the call and to give you a bit of a pleasant information for your upcoming week. Thank you, guys.